Perfect. Thank you so much. Dirk already gave it away, but if you didn't know by now, Skunk works and also an airplane here. We have something to do with aircraft, and we are from Lufthansa Technik, which is basically a maintenance, repair, and overhaul company for aircraft. First, I would like to introduce you a little bit more in detail to my colleague, Tobias, who I'm giving this presentation with today. Tobias has been with the company for quite a while, over 25 years now, and he's been in many different roles and many different positions. He was working in the IT department for quite a while, also focusing on the base maintenance of aircraft. Then he actually founded a digital corporate startup within the organization where he was responsible, also focusing on infrastructure and cloud mainly. And now he's back into the corporate IT where we are focusing on digital transformation, where he's mainly responsible for all of our architecture, our production system, which means how do we produce software.
Yeah, thank you, Marlene. And next to me is my colleague, Marlene. And she's not as long with the company as myself, but she's also at Lufthansa Technik for a couple of years now. And she joined as an enterprise architect. And to be honest, at that point of time, she was the enterprise architect because there was no one else dealing with that topic in the company. And over the last 3 years, she reshaped and redesigned the area of architecture and enterprise architecture, and now is leading a team of architects. So, as Marlene said, we are a maintenance, repair, and overhaul provider for aircraft, and we have done this for quite a long time. And this is where it all started. Here you can see our headquarters in Hamburg in the beginning of the 1960s. To the right border of the picture, you can see the first aircraft hangars there already. And so since the beginning of the 1960s, we are preparing aircraft for a long time and quite successful over the time. We became the biggest OEM independent provider of such services. And here you can see our company today. The headquarters in Hamburg has grown dramatically. There are a lot of other facilities all across the world, and in total we have more than 20,000 employees repairing and maintaining aircraft engines, and things like that. So there was a dramatic change over the time, and there was an even more dramatic change outside our facilities. It was the digital transformation, and guys like him said every company is now a software company. And I think he was not right when he talked about us, because we were not a software company. And we are still not a software company. We are still a maintenance, repair, and overhaul company. But we thought we should become one. So challenge accepted. And we said, let's go where no man has gone before, at least at Lufthansa Technik. Because for us, it was crossing the borders and discovering new areas. But before we go there, I think it's a time to go for a kind of mission debriefing, and Marlene explains what is the mission all about.
Exactly. In order to go where nobody has gone before, we first need to have a rough idea on where we want to go. And Tobias already explained that for us, the mission was a holistic digital transformation. But if you ask 10 people what digital transformation means, especially at Lufthansa Technik, you probably will get 10 different answers. So first, we created our own picture on where we want to go. And for us, digital transformation starts with digitization, meaning that you take something analog and try to develop a physical replica. This is nothing new. Even for us, we've been doing this for ages. And this is actually quite useful because we can gain lots of efficiency advantages out of that. The benefits are that we usually have quite a fixed and steady target. We know what we want to build. We just do it. We have a fixed time frame, and then it's done. But real holistic digital transformation actually goes way more. It involves making software that is now part of our business models, or even a completely new business model itself. And that actually means that we have a way more volatile state. We don't know exactly what we have to build. We don't know how requirements are going to change. That also means that projects, or more precisely products, are actually never really finished. And this was something completely new for us. so far how our mission was, but where did we actually stand? Regarding digitization, as I said, we've been doing this for quite a while, but that also means that we had quite a lot of legacy systems in our landscape, which were just really big balls of mud, and they were also interconnected. We didn't really know what kind of interfaces we had. So there we really just had a really, really big ball of mud. And as far as digital transformation goes, I already said that was something where we hadn't gone before. So there we found clouds of dust.
So today we want to talk about those clouds of dust and how to collapse them and build an habitable planet out of them, or a habitable solar system. Also, it's quite fun to talk about big balls of mud. We'll leave this part out today. But have a look at the clouds of dust. They look quite beautiful, but there's no habitable planet in it. So our task was just to create such a new solar system out of those cloud of dust. And how does that work? Basically, it's 3 steps. By the way, does anyone know how it works? Okay, so I can tell you everything. But basically, it's 3 steps. First of all, the cloud of dust has to collapse and form a new star. Then, in the middle of the picture, you can see how the remaining particles try to circle around that new star, and over time they collide with each other, building bigger particles, building asteroids, and then finally planets. And finally, in the third phase, there are a couple of planets in constant orbit circling around that new star. So we thought, first of all, we will have to create such a new star in our organization. And here's a picture how that works. Also looks quite beautiful to create such a new star. But it's quite difficult because you need a lot of energy and a lot of matter there and a lot of particles. And a lot of things have to come together at the same time and same place. And it's even more difficult to do so in an organization. And Marlene tells you how that works.
Yes. What better to start with than with people? We started to build our core team. For us, it was important to actually start with a small core team. We also did some research, and there are actually quite some interesting studies. For one, I want to tell you a little bit more about the Allen curve. Thomas Allen did some research at MIT, and he actually discovered that there's an exponential decrease of the communication frequency when we also increase the distance between engineers. And you probably won't be able to see the numbers here on the slide, but I can tell you that only with 16 meters of distance, the communication frequency is only limited to 5%. That means that even if we are in the same building at the same place and we are on different levels in our building, our communication is only around 5% than it could be if we were in the same room. And also another really interesting number is Dunbar's number, who actually said that people are able to have around 150 meaningful relationships because everything more than that is just too much cognitive load. We talk about cognitive load a lot when we talk about DevOps, when we talk about technical configurations and so on, but we also have to take this into mind when we talk about team constellations and actually our collaboration with people. And I know that 150 people sounds like quite a lot, but if we subtract our relatives from that, our friends from that, other connections, there are not that many people that actually are left. And that's why we started. We started to build our core team in the office. We were sitting in one room. We started celebrating our successes, even if it was just hitting the trash can at the end of the room, as you can see here on the picture. But we started with our small core team. Next, we needed to draft our to-do list. We had our mission, holistic digital transformation, but we actually needed to find out where we wanted to focus on, or as Steve Jobs said, innovation is saying no to 1,000 things. Warren Buffett says it a little bit different. He says that the second item on your to-do list is your biggest distraction, basically meaning you have to decide what you want to do, and then you commit and you do it, and you don't get distracted by all the other things that you can do. And how we did that is we crafted a business capability map of our organization, of our business segments. This is, by the way, not our real business capability map. It's a little bit bigger, and there are lots of secrets inside, of course, so we couldn't share it today. And then we had a look at our capabilities, and we decided, where do we really want to focus on disruptive change? Where do we want to develop software that goes into our products, that goes into our business models? And where do we only want to focus on commodities, only on digitization? So basically draining the brownfield swamp and cleaning our bowls of mud. And that's the strategy that we developed. At the end, we had around 20% of the business capabilities where we said, here we want to focus on digital products. Here we really want to focus our software engineering capabilities. And 80% where we actually wanted to focus on becoming more efficient. Now we had the team, we had our to-do list, we had our mission at first, and we still needed an operating model. And it's also something that we created, actually something that probably is quite familiar to you. For every capability that to us was more like a commodity or a standard capability, we wanted to focus on harmonization and optimization. So there we actually tried to leverage software as a service product, and we implemented a really efficient project mode. Because as I said, when we're in the phase of digitization, we already know what we want to build. We know how a target looks, so we can quite easily create a project. We have our goal, we have our fixed budget and so on. That works quite well. But that looks a lot different if we're talking about digital products and digital business models. And this is where we changed our business model. For the differentiating capabilities, we actually focused a lot on experimentation, flexibility, and most importantly, speed. Because only if you are fast, you can collect the necessary feedback and you can implement it in a timely manner in order to be able to differentiate yourself compared to other industries, but also to other companies in your industry. And basically what we did is we developed a DevOps operating model there. We only use microservices in a cloud environment. We are operating in a product mode with basically, as I said, a DevOps operating model. And how this continues, Tobias is going to tell you.
Yeah, here's an idea what we can see here. It's a black hole, exactly. And when creating such a new star, you can also create a black hole, absorbing all the matter and all the particles around. And we for sure wanted to avoid creating such a black hole and to appear to the rest of the IT organization as such a black hole. And therefore, we started at a very early stage to involve everyone in the organization. Like Bogdan said, change is impossible. It's least, it's hard. And so we decided to go at a very early stage to involve everyone, do open house sessions, did a lot of workshops with all the teams. And it started very well in the beginning. And if you do a change, hopefully the force is with you, because there are several forces that impact a traditional IT organization when doing such a change. On the one hand, there was our transformation force that we wanted to set up a new organization, heading for more speed, for more experimentation, more flexibility. But since the organization was used to be a more or less cost-efficient organization, and IT being a cost center, they are more interested in planning things and harmonize and reuse and standards and things like that. And then there's a third force, and over the last years becoming more important. It's the security force, and they are all heading in different directions for the organization. And if you remember your physics lessons from school and adding the force arrows and force diagram, operate the fundamentally different strategic and operations cancel each other out. So if you try to move on the same time with the same people for transformation, and at the same time to go for standardization and cost efficiency, you have no movement at all. or can come even worse, like in our case. We started to fall back with the change because somehow the empire struck back. And just some funny stories from that time. After some months, people told us, we already do DevOps. We just leave out all that hipster stuff that you told us. And it works quite well. And by the way, we have done this for ages already. So don't see any change there, but thank you, it works. And one of the workshops we talked about those DORA metrics and deployment frequency. Our real statement was, if we leave out all the tests, we can deploy whenever we want. But of course, the automatic tests usually run for a couple of hours, and then if they fail, therefore we do not deploy all the time, but we can if we leave out the tests. Or another example was, we tried to establish a couple of new roles within the organization. One was the so-called tech lead, being the one being responsible for technology in the team. But as the organization was used for over the years to hire project managers, here's a job advertisement, a real one, which we looked for a project manager, technical lead. So guess who applied for such a job advertisement? Project managers. So it's like with a duck test. If it plans like a project manager, or it's coding like a project manager, reviews like a project manager, it's probably in the end a tech lead. So not. So it was like that. So people try to pretend something that they weren't, and at the same time, it was somehow the mood we were in after some month of doing the change, and it was the same way we looked. And then we found out there is a law behind that behavior. That was not specific to Lufthansa Technik. There are Lahmann's laws of organizational behavior. Who knows those? Well, a few. And it says usually, like a big company like us is like a skyscraper with a lot of management levels from bottom to the top. And the organization is implicitly optimized to avoid changing the status of top and mid-level managers and specialists and things like that. And in correlation to that, and now comes a lot of text here, any change will be reduced to redefine the status quo before. Like in our case, we already do DevOps. We have done that before for ages, works for us, no change at all. And then all those guys who redefine the change become promoters of the new change. And I don't know who is called, this guy is called in Switzerland. In Germany, he's called Obi. He's from Sesame Street. And he explains a lot to children in a very easy way, but it's not really true. So, it was the same with us. And so coming back to that step with forming a new star, and the next step, the remaining particles start to circle due to the gravity, we noticed our star was just too small at that very early stage. And we did not produce enough gravity to let the remaining organization circle around that new star. And so we were looking for how to start this process. And I think Marlene is the answer how to do this. Do you?
Exactly. We actually did some more research because Tobias already explained it perfectly, but we needed to find some kind of an artifact to explain it even a little bit more simpler, and especially find a solution for our problem. And what we actually discovered was that this aligns quite well with a framework developed by Clayton Christensen and Michael Ovendorf at the Harvard Business School, which is meeting the challenge of disruptive change. And what they actually tried to communicate was that whether a change is successful or not really depends on whether the change aligns well with your organization's processes, and even more importantly, with the values of your organization. And the values that we wanted to develop with holistic digital transformation, like speed, experimentation, which also requires a lot of trust, of course. It requires a lot of resilience. It requires a really good failure culture. this was not well aligned with our organization yet. And also the processes, DevOps, for example, as Tobias showed, was not well aligned with our processes either. And if we look at their matrix here, that means that actually we shouldn't have used a team within the organization and try to spread it early on. As Tobias phrased it, our star was still too small. What we should have done was really develop a team outside of the organization, a spin-out team, a really, really strong team to do all of this heavy lifting, and then try to bring these values back into the organization. And this is basically our Skunkworks approach.
Yeah, who has ever heard about Skunkworks? Also, a few people. So Skunkworks is the secret research department of Lockheed. And as we are from aviation, we of course stumbled across that story. And there are a lot of interesting stories about that department. And one is when they, during World War II, I think in 1943, the first German aircraft with a jet engine appeared at the sky. And the US Air Force was quite interested in having such an airplane as well. And they gave that department 150 days to develop such an aircraft. And they delivered in 143 days, the first flyable prototype. I think that's quite amazing. And they had a kind of 15 simple rules, just some example there. You need a strong but small project office, and you need a really strong but small team. And you need a very flexible, and in that case, drawing release system. Well, you need a really flexible system and processes. There are a lot of analogies to what we had in mind. We were even more convinced. Going back. Wrong direction. We were even more convinced when we noticed that their slogan is making the impossible possible. Because at that point of time, we had in mind that was our mission as well, making the impossible possible. And therefore, we made some adaptations from their approach. And when preparing that talk, I talked to a friend that we are giving that we are talking about Skunkworks, and then he asked me, you read the book? And I said, there's a book? And he said, that's a bit strange that you do not know the book. But then I read the book, and I strongly recommend it. It's really interesting to read that book because there are a lot of interesting stories behind, and you can make a lot of adaptations to our bot. So how does that work in our case?
We wanted to learn from our mistake and really implement this Skunkwork approach. And actually, we started quite well. We had our small core team. We focused on the most important things. We had our operating model, which actually aligned with our to-do list and also with our mission. But then we started to create the spin-out team for the heavy lifting. And what we actually did is we founded a new company, a joint venture, which is based in Sofia. And there we actually implemented some of our people from our core team, but we also hired new people to really build this spin-out organization, which created our Lufthansa Technik Tech Hub, or our Skunkworks team. How did we set that up? When we're talking about software engineering, we basically have two main parts in the product development. For one, we have the product discovery, focusing on what we have to build, what are the right things. So developing the user stories, developing a vision for the product, looking at customer feedback, and so on. And the other thing is the delivery, the more technical part, where we actually also have to focus on doing the right things right and focusing on how we implement things, the architecture, UX design, the whole implementation, and the coding itself. And as we had these two locations, Hamburg and Sofia, of our spin-out organization, we tried to hire the roles in all the different locations and really form this kind of a spin-out organization there. For example, we still have our program managers, our cloud platform PO, and our software architects in Hamburg, but we complemented that with product owners in Sofia, also software engineers, cloud engineers, DevOps engineers, and so on.
Yeah, so now we had an organization that produced much more gravity, but keep in mind, we do not want to produce such a black hole. So we had in mind that we need somehow kind of space station where we could invite all the other guys from the organization and the guys from business to meet our new star there, our new core team, the tech hub. And basically we did so by aligning all those new roles and profiles in value stream based teams. Like there's a team doing all the material planning stuff, software for material planning stuff. Others do cash to invoice software or things like that. And then there are some enabling teams like platform teams as well. And all those more technical oriented roles have their home in our new founded tech hub. So the guys from the tech hub are responsible for the how of the software and the product. And then we split up and said all those roles responsible for the what of the product come from the different business segments, being responsible for the product. And therefore, and then there's still a cross-functional team, but have two organizational homes. Some come from the business segment, some from tech hub. And therefore, we found out how to connect our spin-out team with the business team. So coming more or less to the end of the talk.
Exactly. At the beginning, we showed you our current situation, and now we actually found two ways of dealing with both targets. So for one, digitization, and for another thing, the digital transformation. We implemented our Skunk words approach, which is actually at the moment really scaling by integrating our tech hub with our business segments, as Tobias explained. And for the digitization part and all of our big balls of mud, which we didn't talk too much about today, we were starting to also focus on the benefits of really having a stable organization. And we're in the process of cleaning that up and just simplifying all of our existing application landscape. So, where are we now?
Yeah, so the mission was to boldly go where no one has gone before, and at least we can now cross out Lufthansa Technik from that list because we are already on the way. We are not really there, but we are on the way. And we are quite sure that we will learn quite of interesting stories and insights on our future travel there and our upcoming journey. And for sure, we will prepare a new talk. And then maybe it's not only about a new solar system, but also discovering a new galaxy or galaxies. And probably the new talk will call the Guardians of the Galaxy or something like that. So, but till then, we're looking for friends, making the impossible possible and to discuss things with us. And if you're interested, so please feel free to contact us via LinkedIn or whatever. So the two barcodes besides to our pictures lead you to our LinkedIn profiles, and the barcode on the top on the top right leads you to a blog that we very rarely post blog posts.
Yes.
But yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for your attention.